Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my mini series about going over all the Pokemon in the game and how they are relevant. Today, we are going over the Charizard, fan favorite, crowd favorite, oftentimes referred to as one of Game Freak's favorite, getting two Mega Evolutions in the base games. The Charizard is interesting. Now, it is a snoozing type, as is all fire Pokemon currently, and as is the case with all the Kanto starters, it has the ingredient specialty. It's also been given the Ingredient Magnet S main skill, which triggers at a 1.6% rate. Now, it's also got an ingredient rate of 22.4%, which, if you do recall from our previous episode going over the Venusaur, that's a bit lower in both these regards. Venusaur had a 26.6% rate and a 2.1% skill trigger rate, but that is negated out a little bit with its frequency. If you just look here, even, the Venusaur had a base frequency of 46 minutes and 40 seconds. Charizard's got a base frequency of 40 minutes and 0 seconds, which is quite a bit fast. You can see the Venusaur triggers about 30 times a day, while the Charizard triggers 36 times a day. That's just at base rate, so that's not going to be accurate predictions of how often they'll trigger, especially when you take into account sub-skills, nature, and everything else, but it roughly shows you that roughly for every 5 triggers you get on a Venusaur, you're getting 6 triggers on the Charizard. So that's where these ingredient rate and the skill trigger rate's a little bit lower than what it is compared to the other Kanto starters, but it produces ingredients and skill triggers at about the same rate as the other two. Now, to make up for that a little bit, they also have a bit more inventory, because the Charizard's finding more berries, so if you leave it be and you let it get to its inventory cap, if it had the 17 like the other two do, then it's often going to just be diluted with berries. So I think they gave him a bit more inventory to make up for that, to balance it out so that he would be on par with his siblings, I guess you could say. It is interesting that they gave him a bit more speed, because its berry isn't that far behind the others, but it just means that this guy's going to be producing a little bit more berries and will be a bit more effective at the island that it has favorite berry with, which right now is Top Hollow, than the others would be at their respective islands, so Blastoise at Cyan and Venusaur at Lapis. Now, when we get to its ingredient list, which is really kind of the thing that defines what an ingredient specialist does, the berry's interesting. It's nice for getting a little bonus at its respective island, but the ingredient's really what an ingredient specialist does, and there's a lot of different ways you can kind of take the Charizard. Now, the easiest way to go is the mono bean sausage. Easiest in a sense that it's the easiest way of thinking. Mono is always a powerful combination, usually speaking, and as of right now, the Charizard is the only ingredient specialist that has the bean sausage at base, so it doesn't really have any competitors for that role, so it will do that role best. However, if you struggle to find, say, a Tyranitar for the Ginger, it also is pretty powerful at finding Ginger at level 30 and 60, and if you manage to have Ginger at just 60 and you have Bean Sausage at both levels 1 and 30, then it produces this Bean Sausage and the Ginger in roughly equal proportions. As you can see here, if we were to add in an average across the board, you're getting, out of every 3 procs, you're going to average get 1 proc at each tier. If it's got sausage, sausage, ginger, you're getting a proc of 2 sausage, a proc of 5 sausage, and a proc of 7 ginger. Well, 2 plus 5 is 7, and the ginger is 7. So you're getting it in pretty much balanced proportions, which means that if it's got good enough sub-skills, you can really use it as a sausage farmer or a ginger farmer. You'll run into some RNG issues with that, but it's pretty convenient, or it's pretty nice to have roll compression sometimes, if it's what you're finding. It's not always the best option, but it's something to think about. Something else very nice about the Bean Ginger Charizard is that if you compare it with a Dragonite or a Dragonite and a Beware, you can make corn keema curry pretty consistently, which is one of the strongest meals in the game, if not the strongest. So having access to that with the right sub skills is just tremendously powerful. Because if you can cover that one strong curry and just 2 ingredient specialists with the AAB Charizard and the ABA Dragonite, then you're covering one of the strongest dishes in the entire game with just 2 team slots. Now, that is susceptible to power creep if they release new dishes and a new ingredient, which could be on its way with this new island that was just recently announced. Then it is, like I said, susceptible to power creep. So maybe it's not the best option for the long run. But the way I look at it, good options now are going to be good in the future. Power creep's existence isn't going to make them weaker. It'll just make them weaker in comparison. So something that's strong now is never going to be weakened by the presence of something stronger. It's just going to be not the best option, which how long will you have to hunt for the best? That's always a question to ask with games like these. So I don't think investing in a option that could be potentially power creeped is the worst idea. So that's pretty much... Oh, and to address the herb here, I mean, the sausage and the ginger is best, but there also is some things you can do with the herb. As said earlier, the corn keema curry takes sausage, ginger, but it does take some herbs as well. So if you have the A, B, C list, or even the AAC list, you're probably going to need something else to supplement in there, because like the other farmers that make the corn and the herbs really well, particularly the Dragonite, makes the corn and the herbs. So you're going to need the ginger from something else, or more bean sausage, because you're not producing enough of either. Anytime you're have an ABC list or an ABB list, the A ingredient kind of just gets forgotten. It's being hardly produced at all by those ingredient specialists, so its new role really becomes making whatever the B and the C ingredient are. So the A ingredient kind of just becomes an afterthought. So you're not really looking for the synergy between the sausage and the herb when you're dealing with an ABC list. You're looking at the synergy between ginger and herb. And likewise with an AAC list, you're looking for sausage and herb, not well, I guess that makes sense because that's all there is. Well, I think that's been enough rambling for this guy. He appears at Greengrass and Top, as it does the rest of his evolutionary chain. So, you can find him there. If you need him, go get him. Thank you all.